The purpose of the Albie Collection, as I see it, is to reach out to all the people out there in the world who are dreamers like me, want a better world, and maybe even to people who are in a bit of despair about the world, to see positive things can emerge from so much negativity and so much harm and so much hatred and bitterness. Beauty can emerge. It happened in my life. It was there. I was available for it. Almost 90. That's a lot of years. And I look back, I can't believe my own life. I'm a soft, quiet person watching the world go by. I break up fights. I don't get into fights, but I've been blown up. I've been tortured. I've been stateless for many years. I've helped to write the country's constitution. I've become a judge. I've enabled same-sex couples to express their love in marriage through court judgments. I've helped to abolish capital punishment in our country together with my colleagues on the Constitutional Court. Wow! What was it like under apartheid in South Africa? What was it like struggling? What was it like to imagine yourself as a revolutionary? What was it like becoming convinced about the importance of multi-party democracy? What was it like to love? What was it like to be involved with the arts movement? What was it like to write books? What was it like? What was it like? What was it like all the time? And to be able to share that, with other people out there, also dreaming of a better world, also angry about the pain in the world, also wanting to make the world a better place. And maybe even for the people who are in such despair because there's so much pain and ugliness and cruelty in the world, beauty can grow out of the ugliness. It has to grow out of the ugliness. We have to turn the swords into plowshares. And maybe that's been what my life has been about, and that's something worth sharing. A beautiful, wonderful team of creatives have come together. They found enough to make excellent, thoughtful, intimate storytelling, sometimes even richer than the actual experience in the very telling of it, the beautiful way that works of art can capture something and give it a dimension without losing the something, but adding something to it. And that's what's emerged, as I feel, as I see it, in the Albie Collection. Life is so full of vitality and fun and surprise and contradictions. It's got to be conveyed, and it's got to be conveyed even in the storytelling of judges. And maybe the writing I've done that will last the longest, writing as a member of the Constitutional Court of South Africa, dealing with issues like capital punishment, wow, same-sex marriages, wow, prisoners' rights to vote, wow, the rights of the homeless, cameras in court, one issue after the other issue after the other issue, affecting the life of the nation. What does it mean to be a human being in the late 20th and early 21st century? You go to the law reports, boring. And yet, even as a judge, your heart beats to deal with the issues, to get it right, to listen to colleagues, to say something that's meaningful not just to the litigants, but to the world, to young law students, to scholars, to other judges, to the press, to parliament, to other people exercising power, writing for them. A wonderful form of storytelling you have as judges, but such an exciting experience to get it across in ways that I haven't seen before, that I hope will be useful for people not only in South Africa, not only for lawyers, not only for judges, but for human beings, all of us as human beings, wherever we are in the world, and particularly very much for lawyers all over the world. The result, 65 cases, 15-minute excerpts of film, the transcripts. I'm engaged with a very brilliant young lawyer called Thandi Matthews. She's questioning me, pushing me, dealing with my work, the judgments I wrote on the Constitution Court. Somebody said, Albie, your life. Tell your story, literally in your own voice. It's an interesting story. And the result? 30 episodes telling the story of my life from my earliest memories until quite recently. I was born into struggle. Even my name, Albie, I was named after Albert Mzula, who was a communist. He was a trade union leader, one of the first African trade union organizers who died not long before I was born. My parents had enormous admiration for him, so they called me Albert. I didn't know it was an unusual home, because where you grow up seems to be normal to you. But I remember very vividly my mom, Ray Sachs, born Ginsberg, saying to my little picky brother, Johnny, aged then about 18 months, and Albie now aged about 2.5, 3. Tidy up, Uncle Moses is coming. And Uncle Moses wasn't Moses Cohen or Kantarovich, it was Moses Kotani. He was the General Secretary of the Communist Party. And my mom had enormous admiration and affection for him, and she was his typist. So I grew up in a home where it was quite normal to see a white woman showing great respect and affection for an African man who was a boss. And to me, that was normal. And that world outside, where people were treated in a very discriminatory way because of the skin color, just seemed quite absurd to me. The biggest surprise for me in creating the collection was the timeline. So your eye immediately is drawn in to these different images of the young Albie, the older Albie, Albie the lawyer, Albie involved in art, Albie in different kind of connections. And then the rather pedantic dates on the left side, easy to follow. And on the right-hand side, interesting things that happen with lots of white in between. Everything is sort of floating so that life isn't a kind of rigid experience looking a bit like an ancient skeleton of a reptile that you see in a museum. Life by its very nature is free-floating and endless and in flow all the time. And there's a vitality and an energy that captivated me as an anti-timeline person completely. Finally, we come to the part where the subject has to be either very vague or very dead. I'm not very dead, so I'm very vain. It's quotations, quotes from Albie Sachs. People are always looking for quotes for after-dinner speeches, for essays, for a whole range of different things. People are very welcome to use quotes from me, and it's wonderful to think ideas are in circulation in that way. One of the big themes of my life has been my interest in art, all kinds of art, but very much visual arts. I'm useless, I can't paint, I can't draw, but I can look, I can see. And the artistic vision has been part and parcel of my being. Places I've been in, Constitutional Court, big art collection, involved in mural movements in different countries. And the Zeitz Mokai Museum of Contemporary Art in Africa, in Cape Town, is going to have an exhibition called Spring is Rebellious on Albie Life in Art. It's so exciting preparing for that. To complement the exhibition, the director, Sarah Govea, is making, to be quite honest, I find it quite bewitching and extraordinary, very arty feature documentary on my life in art, which will parallel the exhibition at the Zeitz Mokai Museum. In the meanwhile, we've made a teaser for the documentary. Some people remember their first kiss. I remember the first time I went to jail. I was 17 years old. We dreamt of war of liberation. We saw war as something creative, transformatory, liberatory, emancipatory. But even emancipatory war, it is ugly. War is ugly. Mozambique, 1988. At a time of civil war, beautiful art has been created, and I'm blown up. The paradox of our lives is that we're fighting with all our passion to create a boring society. The idea of the judge being passionless, cut off, pure reason, without compassion, without emotion, without feeling, without connection with the world, it's completely false.
Our understanding of art is very, very close to law because law permeates the entire society.
When law is used for purposes of oppression, it's telling a terrible story, a horrible story, a negative story, a dark story. Normally the projection is that art is not reasonable and law is not passionate. So what's the purpose of the Albie Collection? As I see it, it's to reach out to everybody out there in the world who's dreaming that the world can be a better place. And maybe even to people in despair about the world. There's so much ugliness, so much pain, so much horror that human beings inflicting other human beings. To find positivity, to find something emerging from the ugliness and the conflict, that beauty can always emerge, that hope can always be there. That's been my life. It's been my actual experience. And maybe it can even encourage people to find something inside themselves that can, if not blossom, at least grow and flourish a little bit.